Hey, what's up? What's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of D. Elliott Fitness live stream. And of course, as always, you know what you got to do. Go over there and hit that like button. That's just looking just like that. Go ahead down there and click it and get this algorithm going and get this news out. Today, we're going to do another video. This is going to be about semen retention again, about the fall of man. It's going to give you a deep insight and understanding on how this works and the deeper spiritual aspect of semen retention and what the gains, the benefits are, and all around just a really deep insight on how all this works and how all of this ties together. It's going to probably be a outtake on it that you've never heard before, unless you've watched my other live streams previously, because I do touch on a deeper aspect of semen retention other than, you know, the women can smell it on you type thing. We're not really worried about all that. But in this right here, we're going to get into a part one and a part two. They're short, quick, straight to the point, but they have a very good, I guess, context and put together on how it looks. And it's from Teaching of the Wise. So you guys can go over there and check out their content. They got some really great content, and I would advise you to go take a look at it as well. But as always, we're going to go ahead and dive into this video and get right into it. We've got a part one and a part two, and let's get started. And again, like I said earlier, hit that like button and let's go. Where are we at?
The Garden of Eden exists within every soul that is united with God. Expelling the light of God from within expels the soul from Eden and creates a great emptiness.
And the light of God from within, what they're talking about is the semen, the power of semen retention. So the light of God within, releasing it when you're not supposed to be releasing it, you're supposed to be retaining it because of all the benefits that it has for you, know, the negatives that come with releasing it. Did you know that back pain can be one of the effects of constant semen retention? Just one of them, one of many. And as far as my research has been teaching me, but that's crazy. So I've always looked into like back pain, because I'm into fitness, as one of the, you know, issues that people have, and it's one of the leading problems in America. But back pain is a big one. I'm not going to say that everybody across the world is not retaining their semen, but as far as like one of the effects that it has on people, and that's the one of the leading issues that everybody has that doesn't seem to have a cure or treatment to it. But let's continue. Let me stop talking.
To replace the void created with this disconnection with God, mankind created civilizations, ideas, and religions, seeking material wealth, power, and sexual satisfaction. Desire for sensation became the new God, only to serve the further degeneration of mankind, until man was only left with a trace of the divine inside. The secret knowledge contained in the story of Adam and Eve can be found hidden in mythological stories from around the world. In story after story are found the enlightened or empowered heroes brought to ruin by their lust. In the ancient Sanskrit poems, from 400 BC, the Mahabharata, the immortal Pandu is warned to never release the sexual energy. But when tempted by a beautiful woman, he proves incapable of controlling his lust. And he throws away his immortality and dies.
Now, real quick, I've spoken this before, but I always say this. If you look at it, it doesn't matter where you go, whatever the culture is. Different cultures can talk about this same topic, but they all end up with the same principles and the same outcome when it comes to semen retention and the plethora of things you have to put together and rising it, and then it obtains the ultimate source. It doesn't matter what culture you go into. So in this aspect, it's like religion is almost like fighting against amongst different religions is useless. It doesn't make any sense. Because if you really dig deep or dive deep into this understanding, it doesn't matter what culture you go to, what religion you have. If you have an understanding from this perspective, this point of view, it is all the same. And they all point to the same direction, following the same principles. So that means it checks out. Let's continue.
In the Judeo-Christian tradition, long hair was the symbol of sexual purity or chastity. Thus, when Delilah cuts the hair of Samson, it symbolized a lustful seduction. Samson lost his power when he could not control his sexual desire. By expelling the sexual energy, humanity lost their inner senses and were no longer able to perceive God directly. Thus, when humanity willingly expels the subtle energy that supported a direct relationship with God, it was simultaneously cast out of Eden, the paradise of the fourth dimension. And mankind descended into the wilderness, the physical world. This third dimension, the world of suffering.
He drove the man out, and placed at east of the Garden of Eden, the cherubim with the fiery ever-turning sword, to guard the way to the tree of life.
Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden. However, the gateway back to Eden and the tree of life is neither closed or locked. Instead, God sent a cherubim with a flaming sword to guard the entrance.
Real quick, for those of you who might not know what a cherubim is, let's go ahead and just give you a quick reference. I'm looking at it right here from Google. It says cherubim. The biblical authors describe cherubim as formidable creatures who rest at the throne of God's presence and relentlessly guard his sacred space. So when you hear cherubim, think of that. I would just say angels. But let's continue.
Instead, God sent a cherubim with a flaming sword to guard the entrance. The entrance to the Garden of Eden is the same door through which Adam and Eve departed. Humanity is not locked out of Eden, but a cherubim is left to grant entrance only to those who have earned the right to return.
Humanity is not guarded out of garden. Humanity is not blocked out of the Garden of Eden. You are not blocked out of it. You have to earn your right to return. It is an earn. You have to earn it. You ain't locked out of it. But the process is an internal earn. Let's continue.
Only those who have conquered the tempting serpent has earned that right. The serpent is the internal entity that semen retention practitioners need to become aware of, tame, and accept as part of himself. Stay tuned for the next video to find out.
All right, let's go ahead and just jump into that second video. Like I said, these are short, quick, straight to the point. But understanding these videos, man, these things have really good context to them. These things have really good context to them, and they really have a good understanding to dive deep into just what you're supposed to be doing as far as what semen retention really is all about. Like I said, it's not about women. It's a deeper meaning. And once you understand this deep meaning and have a good head on your shoulders about how this all works, it should be a motivator. It should motivate you to just dive in and go all the way with it, because what do you have to lose? There's nothing to lose, just only to gain. Let's continue. Part 2. Here we go.
If you bring forth what is within you will save you. But if you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you.
The serpent is within. The serpent is the sexual fire. It is a very powerful atomic energy with a polarity that can be used to create or to destroy. Because this energy is so powerful, the individual requires great willpower in order to overcome the lure of the serpent. The temptation of the serpent is through material pleasure and self-edification. This tempting aspect of the serpent is Lucifer, or what in Hebrew is called Shaitan, the enemy. Because Shaitan is a fiery serpent that is ignited and empowered in the sexual act. It is always tempting mankind to know, to have the sexual connection. The serpent itself is power. The individual decides through their actions whether it will be the power of good or evil. It is the difference of obeying the serpent or controlling it. The lesson contained in the story of the serpent is that only those with the strength of will to control the cravings of the mind can raise the energetic serpent to transform themselves from intellectual animals into true human beings.
Transform yourself from an intellectual animal into true human beings. From an animal, because you can't control yourself, is how you're viewed. You can raise it and come up out of that into a true human being. Interesting. Let's continue.
It is necessary to conquer the dragon that lies within. As religions and mystical traditions for endless ages has shown in stories, the dragon is one's own lust, passion, anger, pride, fear, and envy. Thus exists the hydra of many heads and the Medusa. The deceptions of the serpent are many. The great heroes and gods always have serpent under their power, and it is the serpent that protects them and conquers their enemies.
The serpent is what protects them and conquers their enemies. That is interesting, because when you learn to control the serpent, you use that serpent energetically to rise up, and now that serpent is beneath you, and it is what protects you. What was interesting is a game called God of War, and they had a world serpent in there. And that serpent actually did help you at the end of the game whenever you called upon it. That's something else. Let's go.
In contrast to the serpent that tempted Eve, causing her to fall, there is the serpent of Moses, who commanded its power and conquered the Egyptians, accomplishing great miracles.
So here's my question. This is just a question I may have. So when they say the serpent that tempted Eve and allowed and made her fall, the serpent is your desire, like they said, like your lust, pride, fear, anger, gluttony, the 7 deadly sins, basically. If she fell to the temptation of the serpent, I'm not going to say it, but then it says Moses here, he rose up and conquered the serpent, which means that he didn't fall victim to the physical of the serpent. So then that means he practiced semen retention, and he didn't fall to any of the lower vices. But then Eve didn't practice semen retention. Then who did she give it to? Because you can't say Adam, because Adam would have been second, because she ate the apple first. I digress. Let's continue.
The Egyptians have degenerated into black magic, and Moses appeared to deliver the true teachings. The Hebrew mem signifies water, shin is fire, and hay is the womb. So the name Moshe, or Moses, means born of water and fire. The Aztec Christ Quetzalcoatl and the Tibetan Padmasambhava were also both born of the waters.
Unless a man be born again of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God.
Moses was born again, which means he created the soul, symbolized by the illuminated tree of life, the burning bush that he saw in the wilderness. The enlightened tree unified him with the inner Father. Thus, he received the commands of God directly. Moses needed to free the people of Israel from Egypt. Egypt represents the degenerated mind of men, and the Pharaoh is the tyrant. This Pharaoh, the tyrant, represents the jealousy that rules over this man-made civilization of material power and desire. Israel is a compound word. Is from Isis, the Egyptian divine mother. Ra is the Egyptian divine father. El is Hebrew for God. So when the nation of Israel is trapped in slavery, this is a symbol of one's own inner divinity, trapped within the degenerated mind. Moses was told to take the rod, the spinal column, the tree of life in his own body, and it became a serpent. The serpent of the Kundalini. His serpent was more powerful than the negative serpent of the Egyptians. Thus, this story symbolizes the duality of the sexual force. Only the positive serpent, under the service of God, can free the soul from suffering. This is clearly represented in Egyptian art. The positive serpent obeys and protects, while the negative serpent must be dominated and conquered.
Sex can be lustful or chaste. Sex can create or destroy. Sex can be animal or worshipful. Sex can raise a fiery chariot to God or pave a road to the abyss. Sex is the natural function of the human being, but only sex as performed under the guidance of divine will.
Only sex performed under the guidance of divine will. It's only performed under the guidance of divine will. Whew.
Sex performed under the guidance of the mind creates suffering, pain, and spiritual death. This is self-evident in those who seek happiness in sex. As semen retention practitioners, we know that the sexual desire can never be satisfied. Instead, our surplus energy that we generate feeds the positive serpent, meaning that our energy is going upwards, which then strengthens our resolve and willpower. We become more aware of ourselves and how we made certain decisions in our life. Decisions play a very important aspect in life. Your decisions can either make you or break you. There are many temptations in our current world, and it is vitally important that our decisions come from the higher channels instead of the lower channels. This is how the positive serpent protects us from the evils of this world, as our decisions come from non-attachment, non-emotional, and non-animal, but from the logical, perfect, and unlimited creative mind of God. We are able to separate ourselves from our emotions, from our habitual thinking and doing. Our certain judgment about things, situation, and people becomes non-biased. We become the captain, the driver, of this human vehicle. As a captain of a plane sits on the highest part of the plane, our consciousness, our awareness, will also reside on the highest part of our human vehicle. When we willingly expel or turn our energy downwards through ejaculation, we feed the negative serpent, which strengthens our lower channels. Hence, our decisions will create a destined life of suffering or the crooked path. Life where there is chaos and no stability due to decisions coming from emotions, as emotions are temporary and fleeting. Life where there is no fulfillment due to decisions coming from our animalistic desires, which can never be satisfied. Life where there is full of fear due to decisions coming from attachment. Our attachment creates fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of death. These are the fruits of feeding the negative serpent. Set yourself free from the negative serpent by taming it as if it was your companion. Then this companion will become your guardian, your helper, when it is turned into its opposite polarity. The positive serpent. This is the serpent. A Semen Retention Origin Series, Part 2.
All right. And that are the two videos I got for you today. Hopefully you got something from those two videos. They gave you a really positive outlook and understanding on how the power of the semen retention works. And there's a positive serpent and a negative serpent. Negative serpent will feed you down a path of the negative abyss. Suffering and fear, confusion, chaos is where you will find yourself when you strengthen the lower portions of the serpent instead of raising that energy up to its highest potential and allowing that serpent to protect you as opposed to conquer you and harm you. You control the serpent and then use that serpent to protect you and have a positive serpent on opposite polarity. All right. Well, that was today's show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, it's going to be a short one, quick one, straight to the point. I feel like that was very informative for people to understand. So as you're on your journey and staying very determined and strong-willed, as these emotions will try to overtake you and conquer you. For your first start, I would say at least shoot for 100 days. From my previous videos understanding, that's the minimum of what you should be shooting for. And if you fall off, don't give up. Get back on. Try again, and keep fighting, because you have really nothing else to really lose or gain from not going towards it. So with that being said, hopefully we're on the way out the door. Hit the like button as it shows right there. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, we will see y'all later. Check it out. Peace.